to provide more opportunities for those who are entering work life, those who are mid-career, and those who are close to retirement.
Right. And those that need to be reskilled, because people do need to be reskilled. The world has changed. Gosh, it's changed so fast. I mean, I'm 60 plus, and I remember we had, when I was 3, we got a black and white TV, and we thought we were whoa, So it's like, if you just think about how technology has changed in all of our lives, even the younger digital native lives, technology's it just changes. It's changing so fast. But if we don't commit to really caring about how technology is designed, and we don't care about making sure the data sets are right. And I want to tell you a silly story. It's a short, silly story that I've said before on air, but I just love it because I think it's very impactful. So Mattel is the creator of Barbie, and Barbie's now, I forget how old Barbie is. I know she's probably 60, because I got a Barbie when I was a little girl. But they decided to give one Barbie artificial intelligence. Okay, how fun. Okay, cool. So they used a team of AI programmers to teach this Barbie to correspond with human beings. And so then they announced it at a conference, and there was a little girl at the conference that was going to get to talk to Barbie. Yay! So Barbie appropriately starts the conversation with this little girl saying, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And the little girl said, "I want to be a computer scientist." And Barbie responded saying, "Oh, well, haven't you thought of a career in fashion?" Okay. Now I hear you making, drawing in your breath, because you immediately know little girls can be computer engineers. But then what they realized, the crowd got really mad at them, was that they had used a small team of male AI engineers to teach Barbie to talk. Any woman would know what is wrong with that. By the way, we are great computer engineers, great computer scientists, but the men hadn't thought about it from that perspective. So you have to have diverse people. You have to have diverse people in your workforce, as designers, as coders, as programmers. And don't tell me you can't find diverse people, because you're not looking if you can't. And so it's very important to remember, that the best way to make sure everybody's included is to make sure you have a diverse workforce that are working on these things. Don't just put 5 white men to program AI. No. Let's take the time to look at this from diversity. And it's good for your brand. It's good for society. But we also, as society, are not going to accept that people are making those kind of mistakes. And, that a lot of people are still talking about that little mistake Mattel made. Now, Mattel's done so many wonderful things. They have, for my community, they have Barbie dolls in wheelchairs. They have Barbie dolls using walkers. They have Barbie dolls. So they're trying to include us. It was just a mistake, but it's a mistake we all need to learn from. We need to make sure people are included, and women too. We say women are the largest minority group, Irene. Well, there are actually more women in the world than men. We're actually the majority. But we're treated like minorities. We're not invited to boards, corporate boards. We don't get the same funding access. We're not paid as much still. And that's just women. Now let's talk about women of color. Let's talk about women with disabilities, women that are part of the LGBT, and the numbers drop and drop and drop. So we still have a lot of work to do in society.
I hear you. You did mention, of course, few critical points that affect all of us, right? Living in society. So at the same time, how do we close those barriers, or remove them rather, in a way that you mentioned corporate world? Okay, you mentioned opportunities, right? And what do you think will benefit the society as a whole if we implement, again, technology is not a silver bullet. Okay, we're there to create the rules that technology will support, don't you think?
I do think, and I think that's a great point. And I think it's also worth noting that we are an aging society. And when I say we, I mean the world. Because I focus on aging and disability inclusion, because the reality is, as we age in these biological bodies, we don't hear as well, we don't see as well, maybe we don't think as fast, maybe we don't move the same. It's just a reality of being a biological human being. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but that's a whole nother thing. But and so it because of the aging of society. I know that there are 70 million Americans that are over the age of 57 now. And so, if we are not considering technology and accessibility and designing for humans, you could be leaving out large segments of the population. But once again, even in countries like Africa or in the Middle East, which we typically don't think of as having large aging societies, they do. They do. The numbers are staggering. Japan is actually their society is aging faster than everybody else. And by 2050, it's predicted that 50% of their population will be over the age of 50. So what's wrong with that? Well, we still don't want our children working, okay? Children should be able to go to school and have fun. Let's not put children back in the workforce. And after a certain age, if people want to retire, they should be allowed to retire. But what does that what happens to the workforce then? So if you have in the States 330, million Americans, well, you take away, 70 million of them, and then you take away the children, it's a smaller workforce that is actually supporting everybody else, with their taxes and Social Security payments and blah, blah, blah. And so if you look at the lens of the US, but we have to understand that as societies continue to age, that we want to make sure that we are looking at technology and human design and SDGs and inclusion, because if you don't think it impacts you, it does. And it definitely impacts people you love. And if it doesn't impact you now, it's going to. It's going to. And I don't mean that as a threat. It's just part of our life. We're born, we live our lives, and at some point we die. So it's just so important that we rethink inclusion and what it means, and what it means to society for everybody to be more meaningfully included. We've got to be a lot more thoughtful about these issues, which is why I appreciate what you're doing with your talk show.